Hello, everybody. It's me, Jason Morales from Nova Jade Cosmetics. We are here on our fifth episode of Women of Success Stories. Today, my guest is Sheena Giordano from Boston, correct? Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Yeah. She's
Yes.
born and raised in Boston. She has worked previously in life as an accountant and now currently works as a personal trainer. She helps people live a happier, healthier life by having them take control of their lifestyles, on whether it's nutrition or whether it's in the gym, helping them sculpt themselves. So I want everyone to go ahead and say hi to Sheena. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm very grateful to be here tonight. So thank you for having me.
No problem at all. I'm really excited to hear your story about being a personal trainer now. Now, I know this is something you do on your own. You don't work for like another company. This is your own company that.
This is my own thing, and that's a story in itself, actually.
Okay, well, we'll definitely get to that. I know you did other previous jobs in the past, and I know you were an accountant. I know you did other stuff. You were in college, so before we talk more about your personal training, I wanted to talk about what you did before personal training. So if we could go back, maybe when you first got in the workforce or first started college, how was that initial experience?
So to give you just a little bit of background on me, because I think it helps sort of paint a bigger picture, I left home when I was 15. So at that age, I didn't have a ton of guidance, and I was in a trade high school. At the time, I picked accounting just because my friends were in that shop. Like I had no desire to become an accountant, but during my tenure in high school, I was just really good at it. I got good grades. Behaviorally, that's a whole other story.
Oh, so you were able
Um,
to do this in high school.
yeah, so the way the vocational schools work is about 50% of your time you're in academic classes and 50% of your time you're actually working on a trade, working
Oh,
towards a trade. So the thing is with me, what happened was I didn't start at my high school until about midway through. I was a transfer. If you had started when everybody else did, you got to explore 16 different trades. Because I started late, I only got to take five. So I only had five options to choose from. And I was young. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So the ones that I picked were really just again because my friends were in them. I happened to do really well in the accounting one. I was really good with numbers. I didn't necessarily have a passion for it, but I was good at it. So that's sort of how that started to manifest itself. And then fast forward, once I graduated from high school, I ended up getting a scholarship to UMass Lowell, and I wasn't even sure at the time if college was in the cards, believe it or not, because came from a very poor family, and again, I had been on my own for so long. So my original intent was actually to go into the Air Force. Like that was what I was going to do. I took the physical for it. I took the mental aptitude test. I was going to do it. And
wow,
then
I didn't even know that.
yeah, so the crazy part about the story is in my senior year of high school, at that point, I was like neck and neck. So I knew I wasn't going to be valedictorian, but I was neck and neck with the number two and number three spot. And the way my high school worked, if you came in either valedictorian or salutatorian, you got a scholarship to any state school or university of your choice. And so at the time, I was like between two and three, wasn't sure where we were going to land. And I ended up second. So I got a scholarship, ended up going to UMass Lowell. So while I was in college, in order to just make ends meet, I waitressed at a bunch of different places, mostly friendlies, where I met a lot of really good friends at the time. I did that for like 7 years, jumped around to different mom and pops. It was a grind because I worked full time while going to school full time,
Yeah.
while literally at a very young age. At this point, I'm like, I started college at 17. And the funny part about college, I didn't even pick accounting right away. I picked criminal justice because
Oh.
I wanted to help save the world. Like literally that I was like, I want to help save the world and this is a good way to do it. But I think it was about midway through my freshman year, we had a corrections officer come in and he literally deterred female from entering the field. He was like, look, he's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's so much more challenging than you think. He's like, men have a leg up. And, if I had the confidence now, I probably would have did it anyway. But back then it literally scared the heck out of me. So
I could see that.
instead, the safe answer was to transfer into accounting, which I did. And I kind of just, you know, skated through it because I already had such a strong, solid foundation in it from high school. So I just continued on that path without, again, really having much passion in that industry. I ended up landing a job right out of college in public accounting. And public accounting is just a grind. But as a young kid, like right out of college, was making decent money. And, it was just, I stayed on that path for a long time. I became a CPA. At my CPA firm, I could have eventually became a manager. I was on track to do that, which inevitably could have led to partnership. But I was tired of working 80 hours. I was tired of feeling burnt out. And
Wow,
truth be
80
told,
hours.
yeah. And the thing is about the firm I was at, in accounting, they talk about a busy season, but we had like so many different clients with different fiscal year ends that, to be honest with you, there was no such thing as a busy season. We were just always busy. So it definitely led to burnout. But the other thing that it led to was a lot of weight gain from just sitting down all day and then not having much energy left in the tank at the end of the day to
Like at a
prioritize my
desk
health.
job.
Desk the whole
Okay.
day. And the other thing is too, like, because it was just like burning the candle at both ends, most of my foods were like fast food at the time,
Something you
just
could
something
just
quick.
grab real
Yep,
quick
grab and
and
go,
bite
eat at
and
the
keep
desk and
working.
work.
That's how I was. I used to eat a lot of honey buns. Like when I had a desk job, I had
Uh-huh.
honey
Yep.
buns all in my drawer, and I gained so much. Like you could see it in my neck at the time. And I remember looking, I was like, wow, I was like, I got a desk job for real. Like I can see it.
But it's crazy because what I realized, and again, this is mostly in hindsight, was when you're not prioritizing your health, everything else in your life suffers. Work starts to suffer, your relationship starts to suffer, your home life starts to suffer because you just have nothing left to give. You have nothing left to give. And so this was probably my third consecutive accounting job. So now we're going on about 8 or 9 years in the field. And I remember being at the office in my cubicle, crunching away at the numbers. And at this point, I worked for a big advertising company in Boston. And I remember thinking, like, I loved the company. The company was amazing, great growth potential. We had the creative side of things there. I had an amazing boss, great coworkers, benefits were good, pay was good, and I still wasn't happy. And, I realize now that happiness truly, like, it comes from within. There was a lot of self work and healing I still had to do from my past for sure. But I do remember a moment where I just felt like my job is soul sucking. I didn't even want to show up for work anymore. And I still did, but I was literally just going through the motions.
So
So I
you
had a
felt like
very
you were like on autopilot, that like
autopilot,
autopilot, just kind of like going there, not really paying
autopilot.
attention to anything.
Yep. And still having not much left in the tank because I was just like, it was just soul sucking to me. And I think it was because, deep within me, I knew in my heart that I wasn't meant to do that as a career. I like to help people, and being in positions that were no longer client facing. Because the one thing I will say about public accounting, even though it was very fast paced, it was still client facing. We were at client sites all the time. I really was able to build my relationship skills doing that job. I was able to build my rapport with people, and just learn professionalism in the business world. But when I got to my advertising agency, I was still in accounting. It was just for a big ad firm. I had said to my boss at the time, and this is how great our relationship was. I felt comfortable enough to go to him. I'm like, look, I thought a lot about it, and I can't do this the rest of my life. I'm like, however, at this point, I've climbed the ladder so much. My fear is, I'm making decent money now, which I had been for quite some time. And anything I would have wanted to do, like I thought about nursing, would have required a lot more schooling, a lot more funding, which I didn't have at the time, still kind of living paycheck to paycheck, even like literally the more I made, the more I spent type of mentality,
Yeah.
without much planning for the future. And so I was very candid with them. I was like, look, I've decided I want to go into personal training. I'm like, I've had a passion for working out since I was 12 years old. I have history with eating disorders, which I've overcome. And at the end of the day, like, I want to help people, especially women, work through the same stuff that I did, because the strength training, that became sort of like my therapeutic setting
Like
where
an
all of the
outlet.
stuff yeah, it was my outlet. It was my outlet. Just leave it on the floor. And not only that, you start feeling stronger and you start feeling empowered. You start feeling empowered to make more decisions that are aligned with you. But again, I couldn't dive headfirst because of the monetary side of it. So I sat down with him and I was like, I don't know if this is even an option, but I'm going to ask anyway. I want to go study for my CPT exam, certified personal training exam through NASM, which is the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And I was like, but I can't just jump ship because I still need to make a living. I was like, is there any way I could switch to part time? And of course, my salary would have to be reduced accordingly. And he was all for it. Like the look on his face was like, hey, kid, you're still young. You can do anything. He's like,
That's
I'm stuck
cool.
here. I'm a lifer because he was a little bit older. He's like, so you know what? I'll go to bat for you. I was like, we'll figure it out. We'll prorate your salary. What are your hours you're thinking? So instead of doing like I used to work 8 to 5 with an hour lunch, I switched my schedule and reduced it to 8 to 2. And then I would leave there. And from like 4 to 9 and 4 to 10, I was working 4 hours at a gym. I didn't do it every night because it would have been too much, but a few nights a week and then sometimes on the weekends. And then while I was there, I did have quite a bit of downtime. If the gym was dead and I wasn't and all the equipment was cleaned, all my work was done, I'd sit there just studying for the exam. When clients came in, I would start building rapport with them. And then I eventually got hired on there once I passed the exam as a trainer. Um,
How is
but
this
like
exam?
any,
This exam, how long, like, what is this exam like cover? Is it
oh
a
my
pretty long
gosh,
time to
like when
study?
I tell you, so here's the thing about personal training. There's good and bad to it. It's very, very easy, as a matter of fact, to become a personal trainer if you're really good at studying. Now, all personal training boards are not created equal. Some of them are accredited, some of them aren't. NASM, the one I did, is one of the most reputable ones out there, which is why I chose it specifically. But it covers literally everything: the human movement system, the nervous system, the endocrine system, the musculoskeletal system. It goes into nutrition, it goes into programming, it goes into corrective exercise, it goes into different modalities of exercise. And then, of course, over the years, I've gotten other certifications. Like I have my hormonal certificate from NCI, the National Coaching Institute. I'm in the process of getting my precision nutrition level 1 as well. And part of that just stemmed from the fact that I started to realize people needed more than just programming. Like, in order to really truly change, there's so many different parts to it. But I break it down sort of into 3 pieces. Yes, of course, you have the physical piece, right? But then you have the emotional and mental piece. Like, that's a huge factor in it. And then, of course, there's the nutrition piece. And I'm talking just body transformation. But here's the deal: most people already know what to eat. Like, when I talk to any of my consultations, they're like, I know what I'm supposed to do. I just won't, I don't want to do it. So, this is where the habit change part really came into play for me. And I started really looking into more coaching certifications. So, I am a
I
life
could
coach.
see you needing more something like that to really coach you, because I understand that, I even have to have talks with myself at times to be like, you know what you need to do, you
Why
know
aren't
how
you
to
doing
do
it?
it, you have all the resources to do it, get up and get it done. And some people, especially if they have, like, let's say their own careers and everything else, and they're like fully invested in these things to where, like, you're tired and you're like lazy, you don't want to cook or do things, you don't want to
Oh,
work out.
yeah.
You have like all the ability to make excuses for yourself. You have all the alibis and all the excuses that you could just reach in your pocket for right there to kind of like put these mental blocks on yourself and not get these things done. So I know it's a good thing to have somebody there as a coach, even if they're a friend, because I've had to tell people about times I felt like this, and I'm like, yo, like, I know I don't have a real problem. I know the answer is like right there in my reach. I just need to talk to you about it. That way, like, I can have
Yep.
someone else verify this for me. So I think that's pretty cool that you went for like more education and like actual coaching people.
100%. So now I work more on behavior change, with an emphasis on strength and nutritional changes. But as you know, it just goes so much deeper than that. Like, most of the time, it's surface level, and people really do need the accountability until they've given themselves enough time to develop the habits to be autonomous. And
Yeah.
that's really, truly what people eventually want. They want to be autonomous, they just don't know how to be yet. And it's not like no fault to them. One, there's a lot of misinformation out there. With the internet, you could Google anything and you're going to get 100 different answers. And like, then you have to try to take that information and try to make sense of it. And so that's kind of what I help people do within the fitness arena. And I get the question all the time, what diets work? They all do. It depends on which one you can stay consistent with the longest,
Yeah,
right?
that makes
Like
sense.
consistency is key. And at any given moment, we're always committed to something, always, right? The
Yeah.
question is, what are you committed to in that moment? Are you committed to your excuses, like you mentioned, or are you committed to change? But change isn't easy. If it was, everybody would do it. And if it was, it would be just snap of the fingers, boom, right? But that's
Oh
not how
yeah.
change works.
Not everybody's what I call self-motivated. And that was one thing, you know, when I was in the military and I was real young, I wanted to be a personal trainer, which like in the arena of like the military where I was a leader, I was able to manage everyone's physical training in the morning. I was in charge of like 30, 40 soldiers, so I was their physical trainer, you know. And I was
Yep.
like, man, I want to do this with civilians too. And like the whole training and like living the lifestyle, like managing what you eat and like timing these things and kind of like building up your physique and your physical health. You have to be self-motivated if you want to do that
Mhm.
without someone holding your hand, because some of the people I would be in charge of that like I would, you know, help them manage their personal training and things like that, when they would get assigned under another leader who didn't have that mindset I had, who wasn't like always in the gym and writing down what they eat and everything all day like that, like it's like they didn't have someone there to motivate them anymore, and they couldn't find the self motivation to like train the same way as I was like having them train. So, you know, I remember some of these people hitting me back up, being like, "Can you just write me like a program or something like that, or
Yep.
make videos?" And that's what I started doing. Started making little videos for other people. So I think that's pretty awesome. So during your personal training, I know you have a lot of continuing education, a lot of it's geared towards lifestyle changes. Um, was there any time that like people around you, I would say maybe like haters or kind of like standoffish all this on you, because you said you had like another career in accounting. I know you had like a boss that was supportive. Was there anyone else telling you maybe like you couldn't do it, or should
Oh,
you stick
yeah,
to
absolutely.
accounting, and like accounting's better
Absolutely.
than lifting weights? Like, how was that experience?
There's always going to be naysayers. And honestly, the way I look at it is anytime somebody has an issue with what you're doing, there's something unresolved within themselves. And generally, it's some sort of fear. Like when they see you doing something that seems a little bit outlandish or over the top, they look at you and they're like, in deep down, whether they realize it, and they might not. Some people do, some people don't. They want to be able to do that. They want to be able to take that leap of faith. They're just too afraid because most people that I talk to, they're not happy with their careers. They wish, right? Wish they can make a change. Well, guess what? A wish without a plan is just that. A wish with a plan. Now we have a goal, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, it was just like some friends and family were like, you're crazy. You make all this money, just write it out. Like you get to sit there and crunch numbers and you make this big salary and you could just keep contributing to your 401k. Because that's the thing too. Like I didn't get into the details of that in personal training. Like, and I love my job. I would not change it for the world. I love what I do. And I'm glad I took that leap of faith. But it was a struggle at first. It wasn't easy. Like, it's not like it was like, boom, I'm great, right? I was making a lot less money as a personal trainer. There's virtually no places out there unless you're at management level that offer benefits. So that's now 100% out of pocket. So if you like no 401k option, no paid time off. So if you get sick, you're not getting paid. No health insurance, no dental, none of that. So all of that started coming out of pocket. The other thing is too, you don't get paid a salary right away. So most of the time you're making very, very, very short money until you acquire clients. Most gyms don't just give you clients when you walk in. You have to earn them. So you have to take them through the consultation process. You have to build rapport with people. You have to get them to convert into an actual client. And of course, like the other part of it too, to be honest, like I said, you take this exam, it's not like you know how to be a trainer yet. You don't have your confidence yet. So for the first couple of years I struggled. I questioned my decision. I even like stopped after a year and a half and did recruiting for 6 months, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And going back to, you're always committed to something, right? I had to really make a choice. I was like, look, you're either committed to making this work or you're changing courses, but you need to make a decision for yourself here and now and give yourself a realistic time frame. So I bounced around a little bit, making very short money at some of these like smaller studios that they just don't have it in their budget to pay, until I landed at a small local studio that had the highest paying for trainers in terms of percentage that I had seen so far. And I was like, you know what? If I can make it at this place, I can get within the next year or two close to the salary, not quite, but close to the salary that I am comfortable at when roughly when I left accounting. Now it still didn't account for the benefits part, but it was still like inching my way a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that that studio, I wasn't the first person picked for the job. They picked a guy and he didn't work out. So I got called like a month later. I thought I didn't get it. And I get the call. He wants me to, start. And I was surprised and I was excited at the same time. And it was a male dominated gym. I was literally the only female trainer. So that in itself
All
was
that
a unique
testosterone.
aspect.
Ah.
Yeah, like that in itself was a unique dynamic. But I had some great mentors. And I honestly learned a lot about being a female by being around men more. And I also learned a lot about what women need sometimes, in terms of having that feminine support, because to be fair, like most of the women didn't want to talk to men about their menstrual cycles. They didn't want to talk to them about going through menopause. They wanted a female. And the irony there is I haven't gone through menopause yet, right? But I still had women that were like, help me through this because I'm another female. So they felt more comfortable
Yeah.
discussing those types of things about their body with me. So I was there for 4.5 years. I did get let go during COVID, unfortunately. It wasn't a layoff, it was a disagreement with my boss. And at that point, we just no longer were aligned. And I think a big part of that was I had this entrepreneurial spirit inside of me. And I just wanted to start doing things my way. That's the bottom line.
No, I
But over
understand
those
it a lot.
what was that?
I understand that feeling a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
had that feeling. I did the same kind of work for several years, working on helicopters and doing like engineering stuff. And it was just one of those things I knew inside and out to where like I made it look easy. I made it look
Yeah.
so easy. I was like, teach people other things and like still do the job. And it got to the point I was like, man, I need to go do something else because like I feel like no one likes the improvements and things like that we make or
Mhm.
whatever. So like I felt like it just meant I needed to go somewhere else and do something better. And I ended up, opening my own company
And
and
I
stuff.
think it's, the other part of it I will say is like I still have to learn to be open and receptive to other people's ways of doing things because that's how you grow at the end of the day. I think
Yes.
I had just outgrown that place because I just wanted to do more and there was just nowhere for me to go. It
Like
was a small,
limiting, very limiting.
it was limiting. My boss, he's kind of very much like me in the sense that like he wants to sort of have his hands in things, which is totally understandable. And I sort of just wanted to fly free at that point. But so it all kind of worked out. There was a lot of fear there too, because here I am jobless in the middle of COVID, gyms are closed. I didn't know what to do. But
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
gonna
I
lie,
didn't
like,
even realize that they completely
uh-huh.
closed gyms down in some places.
Yep.
I didn't even think of that.
So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to collect unemployment until gyms open up again. Then I'll start interviewing and I'll figure out my next move. I'll start looking around for like maybe up and coming gyms if there's eventually like, because the thing is too, commercial real estate became a viable option and people started investing more in property. And I'm like, maybe around the corner, once we turn the corner with COVID, I'll just find the right opportunity. So I was just kind of waiting for the right opportunity. And this I don't suggest because I'm usually more proactive when it comes to things. But again, this happened so abruptly, I was not expecting it. So at that point, I didn't really have it in my foresight to become an independent business owner. I really didn't. What happened slowly but surely, because I had like carried so many of my clients through COVID, because at that point I was training them virtually. I started getting contacted one by one, mostly by women that said, we want to train with you. How do we make this happen? You're the one I've been training with for these last 4.5 years. Like I couldn't imagine at this point my life without you in it. You've helped me grow so much. And I was both like full of gratitude, but scared at the same time because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know
Like
where to
something
train you. I
new
don't have
you
the
have to figure
space.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody was like, hey, you could train me at home. You could train me virtually. And that's how it started. It started small. I didn't even have rates set up. I didn't even have a services list. I didn't have anything one by one. I was just like, okay, let's train at home. Let's train virtually. And so where I am at now, a year and a half later, I have grown significantly. I have about 40-ish clients, which is way more than any one trainer should have at a given time. And it's in all different avenues. So I do some in-home training. I do some training at my local gym as an independent trainer. I do some virtual training, and then I do some online coaching. And that's a platform that I rolled out last March that has been very successful. So I'm actually in the process of hiring a virtual assistant for it. And basically all it is I have this app platform with this huge video exercise library of all content of mine that I've created.
Oh, of
And
you
with,
exercising,
yeah,
like
yeah,
instructing
yeah,
people. That's really
yes,
cool. That's nice.
instructing videos, but this is the best part about it. Every single client in that platform has customized workouts based on their goals, based on their age, based on where they're at. You have a customized nutrition plan that's in there that's all, again, based on the same factors. And I see everything you're doing. It connects to MyFitnessPal, it connects to Fitbit, it connects to Apple Watch. So I literally upload stuff into their calendar. And then on my phone, I'm getting notified, Jane Smith just completed workout one and rated it 7 out of 10. And then I can go in and leave notes. And that's the accountability piece. And I just want to touch upon something you mentioned earlier, because you kept talking about self-motivation. And one thing that I preach to my clients all the time, I was like, look, I get this question all the time. Why, or how rather, do you stay motivated? And I'm like, I don't. I show up anyway. You have to work on the self-discipline, because the motivation's not always going to be there. And if we know intuitively that we're not always going to be motivated, one of the things we need to learn is how to show up for ourselves despite that, because it will happen. You're going to have days where you're like, I'm tired. Well, of course you're tired. You're overworked, you're stressed, you're not taking care of your body, you're not taking care of your mind. And until you start doing those things, you're going to stay tired. It's crazy because like I have long days. I feel tired at the end of the day, but not in the same way I used to. At the end of the day in accounting, I just felt depleted. Like if you think of our bodies as literally a gas tank, mine was like below empty. And now at the end of the day, I feel fulfilled, because not only do I give back to myself, but by giving back to others, that gives back to me too, because that's what literally calls to my soul to do. And until you connect to what you're doing on that deeper level, you're always going to feel like you're just on that hamster wheel and there's no end in sight, spinning and spinning and spinning. And that's it.
Yeah, I understand. There's a lot of people that I would say get in a lot of places where, again, where I was talking about, they get these mental blocks and feel kind of just like stuck.
Stuck.
Um and always don't have the motivation to like take action is pretty much what it comes down to, is making yourself take action even if you don't want to, which, again, I've worked as like a personal trainer also, and I know most of the people that come to you are going to be overwhelmed with so many things that like they do need someone like you, even
Guidance.
if it's virtually, someone to like talk to and help them, like you help them manage like what they're doing with their time, and like using
Totally.
their capabilities like wholly for like what their potential could really be, rather than like them just being like stagnant, like upon not using all their like capabilities and assets to like make things happen. And I think what you're doing is awesome, because
Thank
you
you.
are helping people, and I know that that sense of helping people, it does come back to you in a lot of different ways. It pays off, especially when you're consistent with it. And I know you have this program, but do you have any like a professional website or links to where, like, let's say if someone wanted to contact you for a virtual session or coaching, like how would they be able to
Yes.
get in contact with you?
So the funny thing about my website, back when I started as an independent business owner, I had a developer start it, and he gave me all the tools I needed to update it on my own. I started growing so quickly organically that I no longer even use it. I no longer update it, because my leads come in mostly via referrals, word of mouth. But to contact me, your best options are either Facebook or Instagram, because right in my bio on each of those, there's an application to work with me.
Okay,
And
I got you.
why I went the application route, to be fair, is um, we have to make sure it's a good fit both ways. I can't help everybody. So oftentimes I will refer out. If I look at the application, one, in that application, I'm assessing your readiness. There's a big part to that, because if you're going to come work with me, but you're not ready, I've had this happen like a couple of times in my career until I got really better about the vetting process. I've had people prepay me for 3 months of service and then just not show up. And I've literally said,
Oh,
and they don't
man.
even try to get their refund back, because one of my policies,
They just
Jason, I'm
don't
not even
go.
joking, in my coaching contract, there's no refunds unless it's a medical reason. And I do that for two reasons. One, to respect my time, because there's a lot of work that goes into building your program before you even start it. The other part of it is for your accountability. Like, my job as a coach is to help keep you accountable. So if you review my contract, it's all in black and white. I don't sugarcoat anything. It lays out everything, right? And it lays out what you're getting from me in return, which is constant support. Like, via my app, you're getting 24/7 support, which means within 24 hours, you're going to get a response from me. If you have a question on programming, you have a question on nutrition, or you're just struggling, right? And then you can book a coaching call. So that's the vetting process has come a long way, because I'm not in the business of taking people's money and running. So I want to make sure there's some level of readiness. And that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's going to be roadblocks, but that is exactly why I'm in your life. So there's, for my virtual training, because I have small group virtual training, that's just month to month, no commitment. But my online coaching platform, because that encompasses really everything, it's a minimum of a 90-day commitment. Because truth be told, to really, really change some habits and see true results, we need at least 90 days. After that, it's up to them if they want to continue or not. Most people do, because they see the results and they want to keep going with it, right? But on Instagram, it's Sheena, Sheena 110 _. And on Facebook, it's just my first and last name.
Okay, I can make sure I can put links down in the description.
Yeah. And I was going to say, because you mentioned the bio earlier, if you just put those two in, and then you could
Yeah.
even put in my email, those are the three best ways to get in touch with me.
One thing I wanted to also touch base on you with, because I know you do shows for women who are like lifters and body sculptors and things
Yes.
of that nature. Could you tell me about that? I know you've done a few of them. How is that going?
So I've done both strength-based competitions where you literally max out on deadlifts and pull-ups and stuff like that. As of recent years, I've done more bikini and bodybuilding shows, as Jason mentioned. And the first time I did the show, the interesting part about it was I had a girlfriend who really wanted to do it, and she had done one in the past. So she kind of like pulled me in and was like, hey, let's do this together. She was a fellow trainer. She's like, it will be fun to train together. It'll be fun to be on stage together, so on and so forth. So we both hired the same coach. We put our deposits down. We get our plans. I'm nervous, but excited. I've invested this money into it at this point. And about 2 weeks into our training, she quits. And I was like, you know what? I made the commitment. I'm going to see it through. And my rationale for that, even though I was very scared and like it was way, way, way outside of my comfort zone, I was the girl always growing up at the beach. My friends used to make fun of me for it. I would never show my body. So I would always have a t-shirt over my bikini. Always. I was just so insecure, so self-conscious. I never could look lean enough, and I really beat myself up a lot about that stuff. And so I said to myself, you know what? If you can get on stage in a bikini and 6-inch heels at that in front of complete strangers, you can do anything. And here's the funny part about that. My first show, I get out there, I was nervous, but I did it. And while I was out there, it was fun. It was great. But then the aftermath was so terrible. The aftermath was like, first of all, it was anticlimactic. I was like, I can't believe I just put in all this work and went through this crazy cut phase for like 10 seconds. So that was part of my thought process, right? The other part of it was I didn't place. And like, even though, in my mind, I kept telling myself I didn't have that expectation. Deep down, I really did, because I'm like, why am I putting in all this work if you don't want to come in first, right? So I think there was 43 women on the stage that day. I came in 21st. So somewhere in the middle. And then for the next like month and a half, I'm sitting there crying into a jar of peanut butter because I had no control over food after that. It was so bad. So people were really confused when I wanted to do a second show. And part of it was, I was like, you know what? I am so much further mentally and emotionally than I was during my first show. So I really want to see what, truthfully, what I can do, what package I can bring to the stage, and reverse diet out of it a lot better than I did the first time. And that's exactly what happened. So most recently, my third show, I use it now as an opportunity to grow, to get better, to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I came in third in my last show.
That's awesome.
So I'm present. Yeah. And it was such a fun experience because now it's like, rather than putting so much pressure on myself, I look at it as I'm just going to be the best I can be up there. That's it. That's my only goal, is to be the best I can be, coupled with have fun doing it. Have fun. Like that's the point of it. You put in the work, have fun while you're out there. And now I've met some of the closest friends that I'll probably ever have in my life, because we understand the level of discipline that it takes to get stage ready. There's just so much that goes into it. Your macros have to be on point. You're lifting 5 to 6 days a week, several days of cardio, especially when you start getting into the cut phase. And then it's like the glam part, forget it. Like I was the tomboy growing up. So like wearing like a bikini covered in glam and heels and the hair and the makeup, even that part is way outside of my comfort zone. But what it's allowed me to do is tap into my feminine energy a lot more. And that's something that I truthfully like need to do at times, because as a business owner, I'm just so go, 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 constantly in work mode, constantly want to help other people, that I'm like, okay, this is my time to just have fun. Just be a girl, and have fun on stage and do what you can with it and meet people and explore and create new opportunities. Like I've been in 2 magazines at this point. One of them's coming out this March, actually.
Awesome.
So the first one was Status Magazine. That was my first debut. And I was like looking at it like, holy crap. The girl from Chelsea's a suburb of Boston, who literally left home at 15, struggled through all these hardships, hated my job, hated my life. I'm looking at this magazine like, I can't believe this is me. And here I am again, doing it again, right? And so my goal is eventually to one day be on the cover. And it's not even like, in the past, I'm not even going to lie, it would have been totally 100% ego driven. Now it's more about the fact that like I can touch more people's lives. Like the more exposure I have, the more it's exposed me to new opportunities and new people. And like I said, not only have I gotten some of the best clients out of that who I've helped change their lives completely, I've also made some of the best friends I'll ever have.
That's really awesome. I like hearing your story. There's a lot in it to be.
There's a lot to unpack. Yeah.
From a lot of different angles before you got into personal training, and then your journey with personal training and helping others with their nutrition and their lifestyle coaching. It's really amazing. I could listen to more and more of this. But one thing I wanted to know is, like, let's say if you had a piece of advice for someone who wanted to follow the same path of like being a personal trainer, like where would you advise them to start at if they wanted to pursue that kind of lifestyle?
Honestly, the biggest thing I would suggest, there's 2 things really. An internship, if you can get one, because then you can actually see what the field is like and gain some real life experience. Or at a minimum, if you call some local gyms, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind if you do some sort of shadow shift, and or talk to a trainer. Talk to somebody like me, pick my brain a little bit, ask questions, address any of your concerns, address any of your fears, talk about the pros of the field, talk about the cons of the field, kind of see where the demand is in your area. And also, given the fact that COVID has really launched this whole online platform for personal trainers, identifying if you have a preference to be a live trainer versus an online fitness coach, because that's an option too. And with online fitness coaching, very similar to my online coaching program, most of your work is done anywhere, because it's all online, right? So like even when I'm doing my coaching and check-ins with clients, we're either hopping on a call or we're hopping on a Zoom. And I totally leave that up to the client. Some people like the face-to-face and some people just want to be lounging in their bed or sitting on their couch and just hanging out while they're on the call with me. So they can be a little bit more relaxed. But my point being is first is knowing yourself, identifying how you like to operate, how you like to work. Do you like to be physically in a brick and mortar environment? Would you rather work from home for the flexibility of it? Do you like a client facing role or would you prefer like more back end stuff? So first and foremost, know yourself. Secondly, again, find some sort of outlet where you can learn more about the industry before making that decision.
That's a good bundle of advice. I absolutely agree. Definitely, you want to get your toes wet to see if you're about that lifestyle also before you manage other people's lives. Again, I think your story was amazing to hear,
Thank
Sheena.
you. I appreciate it.
This episode of Women in Success Stories. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share Sheena's story with all your friends and your peers, and let them know about her professional links. Sheena, it's been an amazing time having you on here. It's been
I
full of
really appreciate
pleasure.
it.
That's awesome.
Totally
So
appreciate the opportunity.
we'll definitely be seeing everybody on our 6th episode next time again. Sheena, it's awesome having you on here. I'll be talking to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks again.